Hi everybody, welcome to another Top Tips for IELTS video lesson with Faster English. Today's lesson is focused mainly on the writing paper, but you could use the same ideas in your speaking as well. So our theme today is complex structures, and remember, complex structures don't need to be complicated. A complex structure, a complex sentence, is a sentence with two parts, two clauses. And today we'll look at how to link those clauses together using different adverbs. And while we do that, we will look at some common mistakes that people make in writing part one and how we can fix those mistakes. Okay, let's go. Okay, everybody, here we are with our IELTS writing task. You may recognize this task. We've used it in a previous video. It's from IELTS.org. Excellent site, official site, with lots of information and materials about the IELTS exam. So we're not going to look at the task in detail. By now we know we have an introduction, overview sentence, describe the main features, compare and contrast. That part is always the same. We're going to look at how to create complex sentences using adverbs and some common mistakes. Okay. So one of the common mistakes is that people don't analyze the data. They don't look at this information on the y-axis and this information on the x-axis to tell us what the data represents. Okay, so we've got television is this line and radio is this line, but television what? Radio what? Well, we can see here it's the percentage of UK population. So this is how many people are listening to the radio in percentage, or how many people are watching TV as a percentage. And here is the time of day. So over one day, what percentage of the population are listening to the radio or watching TV. However, many people don't do that. They just write about television or radio. So for example, if we look at our first pair of sentences. So you get sentences like this. Radio is higher in the morning. Television is higher in the evening. So two problems. First one, radio what? It's not just radio or television. We need to include this. Secondly, these are very simple sentences. We've got subject, verb to be, and complement. Same thing here. So, how do we expand this and how do we link them together? Well, here is one way to do that. So the number of people listening to the radio or watching TV tells us how popular that is. So we can say radio is more popular in the morning, television is more popular in the evening. That makes more sense than radio is higher, television is higher. So radio is more popular with people and television is more popular in the evening. And you can see instead of two sentences, we have one sentence with the linking adverb whereas, because whereas shows contrast, two things that are different. This one, the morning, popular, evening, popular, they're different. So we can put whereas radio is popular in the morning, television is more popular in the evening. Of course, we could put whereas in the middle and have radio is more popular in the morning, whereas television is more popular in the evening. Both are possible. Okay, so that's our first example. Talk about what the data represents and link together with an adverb. Okay, let's look at another bad example then. This time we've got the highest percentage for radio is around 25%, you can see here, and the highest percentage for television is around 45%, which is about here, we can see. Okay, now again, that might seem better than here. We've just got radio is high, television is high. Here we've got the highest percentage of radio, the highest percentage for television. But again, that doesn't really make sense. The highest percentage of what? Also, we have two sentences that are almost identical, so we're repeating things. So, to improve this, we need to talk about the percentage of what. What does this percentage represent? Secondly, we need to link the two sentences into one complex sentence. And thirdly, structure them differently so that they're not repeated, they're not the same. How do we do that? Well, one way is like this. We talk about features of the graph. So this feature here, we call that a peak. You may be familiar with a peak. And we say radio reaches a peak of around 25% of the population, not just the highest percentage. It's 25% of the population is the peak, and television peaks at over 40%. So we have linked them together with whilst. Again, they're contrasting. We've used a range of different verbs. Here our verb is reach, here our verb is peak. So you might see peak and think it's repetition. It's not. If we look at this clause, television peaks at over 40%. Here, peak is our verb. In the first clause, radio reaches a peak of around 25%. Here, our verb is reaches, and peak is a noun. So although we repeat the word peak, here it's a noun, here it's a verb. So that shows that you can use the same word but in different forms. So there you go. We have our two parts combined with an adverb and using the term peak as a noun and a verb to describe these features. Okay, let's look at one more example. We need to make things a little smaller. Okay, so this time we have the line for radio decreases gradually from the morning until night. So that's talking about this. The line for radio decreases gradually. And here, the television line goes up during the day, then falls suddenly from 8 p.m. to midnight. There you go. The television line goes up during the day, falls suddenly from 8 p.m. to midnight. So, what's the problem here? Okay, first, no adverbs, no linking. Secondly, we have two sentences that are simple, not complex. Thirdly, more importantly, this expression, the line for radio, the television line. Again, that does not describe the data. The line for radio, the television line, that does not make sense. What does the line represent? It represents people or percentage of the population listening to the radio or watching TV. So we need to include that information. We need to link it with adverbs. In the first two examples, we had contrasting adverbs, whereas or whilst. Indeed, we could substitute these. We could have whilst here and whereas here, because we're contrasting this and this. In the third sentence, we're talking about time over the day. So we need some adverbs that show sequence, that show time. And our good example is here. So we've got after as our adverb of time. After the number of people listening to the radio peaks at around 8 a.m., it falls gradually all day and reaches a low at around midnight. That's this sentence here. So there we've got three clauses now. After the number of people listening to the radio peaks at 8 a.m., clause 1. It falls gradually all day, clause 2, and reaches a low at around midnight. So there we have a 3-clause sentence. That is a complex sentence, but it's not complicated. They're all simple statements. Similar thing with this sentence, talking about TV. So we've got the number of people watching television climbs gradually during the day. Up here, that part. Our linking adverb for sequence, then falls sharply down here from the peak at around 8 p.m. until 3 a.m. That's this period, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. to 3 a.m. And last part, when it starts to increase again. Oh, we've got another adverb in there as well. Let's put that. Okay, so again, 3 parts to the sentence. The number of people climbs gradually during the day. Adverb, then, falls sharply from the peak at around 8 until 3 a.m. Second part. Third part, when it starts to increase again. So you can see we've got 3 simple parts, 3 clauses that could be simple sentences linked together with adverbs to form a 3-part complex sentence that is not complicated. It's simple things linked together and related to the data. It's describing the data, not the lines. Okay, there we go. Okay, that brings us to the end of our lesson. Just some key things to remember. With part 1, describe the data and what is represented. Don't describe the lines or the bars. Okay, so make sure you understand the data and what the graph is showing, what the diagram is showing, what the bar chart is showing. Secondly, you can create complex sentences by putting 2 simple sentences together, or 3 simple sentences, and linking those with adverbs. It can be adverbs of contrast, it can be adverbs of sequence or time, it can be adverbs to show similarity or likeness. But remember, a complex sentence doesn't have to be complicated. It's just 2 or 3 simple things put together and linked using adverbs. All right, that's it for today. If you would like more top tips for IELTS, if you would like to prepare for IELTS with me, with Faster English, then please join us for a course at fasterenglish.co.uk. All right, goodbye, and I'll see you soon.